we're gonna talk about this real quick because this is really nice. I like this. Start bench cut. Melo, Paul George, Tracy McGrady. Paul George, get the fuck out of here. Cutting your ass immediately.
What?
Melo, get on the bench. T-Mac, let's get it going. Actually, Melo, get your shoes ready. Get your hoodie. You're starting. T-Mac, come off the bench. T-Mac, I'll call you when I need 13 and 30. Melo, just give me a nice 60 piece, please.
I'll go T-Mac. Starting. Paul George on the bench and cut Melo.
Oh, the blasphemy.
Oh, you capping. I can't do it.
Whoa.
I can't do it because in terms of careers, looking at this shit, bro, I love T-Mac. T-Mac got to come on the bench. And we're talking about starting the cutting. I got Melo starting.
Thank you. I love Paul George. I'm a huge Paul George. Loved him in Indiana. My very first 2K. Hold on. My very first 2K that I ever owned in my life was 2K13. I had a My Career player with that nigga Paul George. Me, him, Danny Granger, Roy Hibbert, and David West. We was balling. Got about 3-4 rings. Paul George never left. Everybody else left. Me, Roy Hibbert, and Paul George stayed in that bitch. So I fucks with Paul George. But no, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. He just hasn't really been there for me lately. Like, he hasn't really produced enough for me lately. He had a great start to his career, but I'm just going off the ends of it, not so well. So.
Yeah, and I ain't gonna hold. T-Mac did coin the famous phrase, it's great to get out the first round.
Oh.
At least Paul George got out there.
That is because
Melo did too.
PG and Carmelo could score magnificent. They could literally score unlimitedly. Like, they could just score. But Paul George plays defense. He plays better defense than Melo.
That's facts. That's factual.
If I'm sitting there with team, like, if I want a guy that could give me 30 and he could stop those balls on the other side, I could take that. But I'm not about to sit there and go shot for shot with Melo all day. I can't do it. It's going to drive me nuts.
T-Mac ain't playing no damn defense either.
That's why already. So you want me to have 2 Carmelos on my damn team?
Okay, I get that. I get it.
That's I can't have 2 of them. That. I can't do it.
You can't do it.
I refuse to constantly have a game every single night. My team scores 120, but the other team score almost 135 or 140. I can't do it. I need somebody to stop the ball, please.
So it kind of sounds a lot like the Phoenix Suns right now.
Yeah,
but that's another topic for another day. Yeah,
it's just gonna be NBA shootout all day.
You said what?
It would be a shootout all day. You literally have 3 players right here that could literally get like 20 to 25 shots each right here. Then you think about the Suns, like they ain't much there. So I've got an interesting question for y'all. Let's say the Suns versus this team, right? 3-on-3 right here. Who y'all got?
Oh, Bill, Booker, and KD versus Carmelo, Paul George, and T-Mac?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go Carmelo and them. Carmelo, T-Mac, and Grady.
I don't know. I'm gonna go the other 3 because at least I know. Well, okay, no, you could put Paul George at the 2, and then T-Mac.
It's just you have Carmelo. Carmelo will have the guard. I'll have Carmelo guard Devin Booker. Paul George will guard KD, and T-Mac will guard Bill. And I can live with that. That's something I can live with.
I might switch Melo and Paul George, but I feel you. I like that.
No, I would switch Melo and T-Mac. I would put Melo on Beal.
No, but that's the thing.
T-Mac on Booker.
Melo's only thing
because T-Mac's got more size, so I feel like he could match more with Booker. Because I feel like Booker's going to drive more than Beal. Booker's going to drive a little bit more than Beal. Beal's going to stay on that. In this Suns offense, I feel like Beal is going to stay on that perimeter a lot more, and I would rather have Melo out there. And I'd rather have T-Mac a little bit lower when Devin drives. And then keep, like you said, Paul George is the best one out of all of them, so keep him on KD.
Yeah, I would say that's the only way you could do it. Because, I mean, all of them going to score. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, who's going to slow down them the most? Like, who's going to slow each other down the most? And I could go if Paul George could at least keep Kevin Durant under 20, I could survive. I know I could survive off that. That's good enough for me.
But I ain't gonna hold. Are you living with who you putting D Book and Bradley Beal on though? The other way.
If it's the other way, Bradley Beal has to guard T Mac.
Oh, the other way around.
D Book gonna have to guard Carmelo.
D Book is gonna have to guard Carmelo.
Hey, I ain't gonna hold that.
No, I'm keeping it the other way.
Plays more in the post.
I'm keeping it the same way. I would put. Oh, you're right, Bradley Beal.
Because Bradley Beal gonna be. Oh, it's gonna be barbecue chicken alert for Carmelo down that post.
He on perimeter all day.
Yeah.
If you put Bradley Beal on Carmelo, we don't need to have Paul George and T Mac score. They just need to play defense because Carmelo gonna do all the scoring then. If you're gonna put Bradley Beal on him, he gonna
win. Which one do you put KD on? I'm gonna be honest. I might put KD on Melo.
I might put I mean that might be the best.
I might put KD on Melo, but then that means I have to put
Beal.
Booker. I would have to put Booker on. Yeah, who do you put? Because I guess you put Bradley on. Even though I know Paul's gonna drive a lot, at least he's not gonna be shooting.
Yeah,
because
Bradley can at least play some better perimeter defense than he can do interior. So put Bradley Beal on Paul George, and then put Booker on T Mac.
Yeah, cause I think T Mac gonna post his ass up out there on that perimeter, gonna do that turnaround fade, like you know what I'm saying. He gonna keep doing that too.
Yeah, like Bradley. T Mac, he just got that perimeter post game, but Carmelo got that down low post.
Post
that power forward shit. Like he's a real power forward. Like he's gonna work you down there.
I ain't gonna hold. Sometimes, like I heard a conversation a while back where it was talking about some players, like not do the key honestly do the what if, but what a player's career could have possibly looked like if they got dropped in just a little later than they did. I think like if Melo wasn't in that 03 draft and you could have put him in like 2014, 15 type shit, I think that power forward spot right now where it is today, we probably would have seen that shit like how the hell we deal with this shit? Cause we saw KD at the 4. But now if you had like a younger Melo coming out of Syracuse type shit with the ability on the perimeter that he had to be able to do to cook, because he was a scorer, but he has that his skills overall. It was just like, bro, you literally just gotta hope he just missed. He's just not 7 foot like KD. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we can say that about a lot of people. That's why I be feeling bad for Carmelo because you have to think he literally came. Like, how was he going to get a ring? Be honest. When was the opportunity for him to actually get a ring? Maybe that one time with Allen Iverson, but other than that, that window was closed. Every chance that he had a chance of getting a ring,
it was the Lakers. That's the crazy part.
The Lakers, Spurs.
That was the best bet.
Like that was his only one window, and he couldn't and that was really just a pain in the ass to get there. Like when he was in the West, he literally had to Tim Duncan. Kevin Garnett was still with Minnesota, Lakers, Houston. Like it was stacked. And then he come to the East, and guess what? Now you got to deal with LeBron and D Wade. You got to deal with Paul George in Indiana rising. You got to do it was like, bro, Carmelo really Chicago. Melo really had no chance of actually winning a ring. There was really no window for him to win one.
Real, even that's just me in the East. We ain't even talking about the West with the Lakers and Tip and the Spurs and the Grizzlies.
I said that's where it began.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah,
but yeah, that was tough because that was
he literally never had. The only thing he was probably that's why he probably ended up doing the Olympics so many damn times because he was like, bro, I'm really not going to get a ring. Like, there's no way I'm going to get a ring. And when he had a chance in New York, Amari bust his hand up, punching the fire extinguisher. So there go the opportunity right there. So it's like, yo, he literally just never had a chance to win a ring.
Yeah, that's true. He just never did, and that's unfortunate. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it's the same for Paul George in his career. I think he never really had a chance. Well, no, because he went to a conference
his window
finals.
His window,
but that we knew that conference finals. Who was it against? That was against the Suns that year.
That injury he had for the Olympics. that's what really fucked up his whole trajectory.
I don't think it was that. I think it was just the teams he was on.
I mean,
And
that's
it's the same for Carmelo. It had nothing to do with like how long he could play. It was just the teams he was on wasn't good enough to get past that. And I can see what you're saying. The injury didn't help, but at the end of the day, injury or not, Paul George was still not getting that far in the playoffs without the proper help. So because I think Melo made it to a conference finals before, right?
Yeah, so did Paul George. He did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I know Paul George did. Oh wait, no, he did also
with
in
Indiana.
Indianapolis. I was going off of the one recently when it was just him, no Kawhi, at the Clippers.
Yeah,
or was it the other way around?
I think they made.
What was it the other way? Was it the other way around? Was it Kawhi and no him, or was it him and no Kawhi? I think it was him and no Kawhi.
It was him and no Kawhi. Didn't know Paul George.
Yeah,
and they lost to Phoenix.
Yeah, I was about to say Paul
that was
George
the year
went
Phoenix
out, and
went.
well, really Kawhi went out first, and then when Kawhi came back, Paul George went out. So it literally switched halfway through the series.
Got you. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that but yeah, I did forget about also the times, of course, in Indianapolis where he went. I think it was like back to back. No, I don't think it was back to back.
No, he just happened to run into.
He went once, and then the second year, it was like he met the Heat in the second round.
Yeah,
but it was a really intense second round.
Yep.
Because of the previous year, it being the conference finals.
Also,
matchup.
the fact that Danny Granger came back. Then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Then he got hurt that first round. So when
the Pacers, you couldn't tell the Pacers nothing back then. They was the Cinderella team for real.
They were the Grizzlies before the Grizzlies.
With all of the hype of that's a good comparison. With all the hype of the LeBron super team and coming off the end of the Celtics super team era, in the end of Kobe's dominance, and who else was popping during the time, and then Dirk still. No, I don't. Well, the Spurs still doing their great thing, what they were doing. Along came the Pacers with just this craziness of like hope of wow, here comes a team that, because out of those teams I just named, those are all historical franchises.
Yeah,
that have rings, except for the Heat, but we knew they were going to win something at least. They had won a year or two before.
Yeah,
so it's like teams that have won. Because like I said, I named the Spurs, the Heat, the Celtics, the Lakers. All four of those teams have won a championship within that decade. So it's like and those were the top teams that were competing right now. And then along came the Pacers just saying, hey, we could take this one, but we could take this off y'all hands, but they couldn't get past the GOAT. So that was one of my favorite times, because that was the same year that I had my 2K, I got my first 2K and had my team on my player on the Pacers. So.
Well, I ain't gonna hold one of the funny facts with on my 2Ks, man. They had KD and Paul George on the Pacers, and I said, "Oh fuck no!" Not before that was right before Kawhi with the Clippers. I said, "Oh
man, 2K simulations. That's another segment we got to do one day. It's the craziest 2K simulations. I know we all got a bunch of them. I don't remember a lot, but I can name a few. But
I'll tell you the craziest team I joined, and y'all be like, "Of course." I was a small forward. It was 2K14. So you know what year that was. That was a year of the prime Heat. You know what I'm saying? Bruh, tell me how the hell I got on the Heat. We had Ray Allen at the point. We had D Wade at the 2. I'm at the 3. Bron at the 4. We got Bosh at the 5. We got Dirk coming off the bench. How the hell did we do that?
What?
How did
That's
we do that?
crazy.
Dirk coming off the bench.
Coming off the bench.
That's wild. That is crazy. But let's move on to a little bit of some NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about it. We got the NFL coming up in, I'd say, about a month and a half, maybe. The regular season will start. I know the preseason starts around my birthday, which is the 4th of August. So that should be, because they do like the Hall of Fame game or something like that, because it's like the same week they do the Hall of Fame presentation. So it's like around that same time, they'll start to do the preseason games or something like that. They change that stuff every year, so maybe they won't. But anywho, we're going to get into a little bit of NFL as we get closer and closer to the season. But this is something that I saw. Shout out to OG to Be Sports. I really, I've been watching his content over the past couple of years. One of the first people I saw on TikTok do some sports topics and stuff. So we're going to shout him out before we watch his video. Let me refresh this.
basically implementing a rule that takes away the RPO. I'm very, very surprised that the NFL would implement a rule like this, considering where we came from and where we headed offensively in the league. Over the last decade or so, teams have been looking for more athletic quarterbacks with bigger, stronger, faster, better arms, and implementing a rule like this seems to be going backwards instead of forward. Now I guess any handoff going forward is considered a forward pass, which is illegal in the NFL. We all know that. Now I can think of this either one or two ways. Either you're pointing this in the demographic of a certain color, or this is an attempt to give the defense a little bit of leverage, because we can't be physical defensively, but at least allow us not to be mind screwed by the quarterback not knowing who's about to take off with the ball. I know teams are going to figure it out, but this directly impacts the new guy, Anthony Richardson. This definitely impacts guys like Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Okay, so that's the video. Basically, what they're saying is the RPO, the quarterback, when he hands the ball off, it cannot be in front of him anymore, which is something that that the RPO basically took advantage of, because previously, before, there was the regular read option where you're reading that DN, but you're handing that ball off at your waist. But the RPO kind of changed things to where you're handing it off more in front of you. You're holding that read even longer. And before the RPO became something that you could run with, it was something that I saw Nick Foles use when he was with my Eagles when we won that bowl a few years ago. He used the RPO to the original form, which is basically a run pass option. It's basically I'm going to hold it, and either I'm going to hand it off to him, and if I don't hand it off, I'm going to pull it back and pass it. But now, as of this past year, the RPO has become more of a RPOR or RPRO or whatever they call it, because they're adding another option to it by saying, okay, I'm going to either hold it and give it to the running back, or I'm going to pull back and pass it, or I'm going to pull back and run it. So now it's became more of a triple option compared to in previous years. It was more just a double option of I'm either hold it up, I'm either hand it off last second, or I'm going to pull it back and do a quick pass to the slant or to the screen or to a quick route, compared to now where it's like I'm going to do either those two, or I'm going to just pull back and run it. So the NFL is starting to change that up. They're saying, no, you can't do that now. You can't run if you do that. So I'm assuming they'll still be able to do the RPO, but you won't be able to run with it, which I don't know how they're going to police it. I don't know what type of penalty there was. I haven't done too much research into the rule, but I did want to talk about that video and just see how you guys felt about the rule change and if it's going to impact a lot of the running quarterbacks in the league this year.
I feel like it's going to impact it tremendously because, one, it's a lot of quarterbacks that we've just now getting to more quarterbacks that run more. And it's kind of like back in the day, you only really had Donovan McNabb and barely Donovan McNabb, but more Mike Vick.
I was about to say, my boy McNabb, he was a scrambler. He wasn't no runner.
But more Mike Vick.
He might scramble every now and then. Yeah, Mike Vick.
We're getting more quarterbacks that are more like Mike Vick type,
yeah.
And Cam Newton and stuff like that. But it's like, you kind of take away that to me, that run play option is kind of fun because it kind of reminds me of college football. I don't watch a lot of college football. And I'm gonna be the first one to tell you that I don't watch a lot of it. But one thing I do like about it is like that basically like that that spontaneous action of like you don't know if he's gonna actually run it, you don't know if he's gonna pass it, you don't know. But when you start kind of limiting it, it's like, bruh, like how much are we gonna tighten up on football? Like they barely can't tackle now. They can't do certain things.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say they can barely tackle.
They can tackle safely, but like they tackle safely now, but it's not like, oh, like back in the day when we used to be like, oh man, you saw that hit? You saw that?
No, they still let you do those.
Everything with the rules now is set up to protect the quarterback, so you can't do the nasty QB.
See, that's different. The quarterback is protected a lot more, but they can still knock you upside the head. You might not be able to do a helmet to helmet, and that's valid.
That's valid. I'm okay with. I don't need a helmet.
But they're still doing, because targeting is also only targeting is only policed at the college level like that, where they'll suspend you for like the rest of the game and the first half of the next, as to compare to the NFL. If you do the same play of targeting of what they would consider targeting in college. If you do the same thing in NFL, it'll just be a 15-yard penalty. And if you do it again, they'll kick you out. So it'll be called not a personal foul, but unnecessary, whatever it is. With the one where they say if you do 2, you're out for the rest of the game. But
I think it's like I feel like it's just, I like that. I always like the read option. I always like that mindset, that setup of it, because I'm like, man, that make the game more fun. So I'm kind of disappointed about it, but I guess we'll see how it goes in the NFL.
I mean, I ain't gonna hold with everything. Like, I understand what they're trying to do, because I guess, like you said, it's a little tough on the defense when it's like you're trying to protect the quarterback, and it's like, okay, they're protecting the quarterback. You do an RPO. How am I supposed to actually make a defensive play against this team? I could understand it to a certain degree, but at the same time, it's like, bro, you taking this away, like you said, takes away a lot of the style and finesse of what we actually talk about when we look at watching the NFL right now. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, well, down. Well, we ain't going to have no more too much of a dazzling offense. Like, it kind of really hurts the Eagles and Niners and such a 2 running teams until they actually, like, get their bread and butter off of what they do. You know what I'm saying? So it's like for them to make this kind of rule change like that, I got to understand really to the why. Like, if they're saying it's for the defensive players to actually make more impact, to see how defense have more influence over the games, sure, I could buy that. But not really going to buy it for real? Not really. Because if anything, I would have thought the rule change would have came from would have been how they do the QB sneaking. Technically for me, I don't really have a problem with it. It's just, hey, nigga, get your line up. Do your thing, bro. Like, don't sit out here and be like, don't sit out here trying to, like, change shit to make it effect for one side of the ball to make it easier for that tip, and then just, like, completely, like, put your hand into the game. I'm a Libra, so you're putting your hand on the scale to make it weighted to one more side there. But what side is it really for? That's my only real question with it.
Yeah, well, I don't know either, because I'm surprised they didn't even as a Philly fan, I saw we got a lot of touchdowns and a lot of first downs off the QB sneak, more than we got off of RPO plays. So, because I'm going to be honest, a lot of Jalen's running plays came more off of the designed QB runs, where it's like more of a draw or like a direct snap. He got a lot of those rushing yards off of those more than he kind of got off of RPOs. He still got a significant amount off of RPOs, but he got a lot of the touchdowns too off of the QB sneaks. And I'm surprised they didn't take that rule out. But then again, I feel like you can't, because that's such an old rule. I mean, not an old rule, but an old way of playing football, that you can't take that one out. The RPO is something new that you can kind of nip it in the bud and just say, nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that no more. This new stuff that y'all are doing, cut it out. But you can't take away the old-fashioned QB sneak, because we were really succeeding off of it to the point where, I don't know if it was just Dallas Cowboy fans or just haters of Philly, was really like, oh, this isn't fair. That's not legal. It's like, what you mean? Y'all just mad because we got a good O-line and Jalen know how to lower that shoulder and get that first down? Like, we was doing it back to back. We could do it on 3rd and 3, get to 4th and inches and run it back again and still get the first down. Like, you guys would know what we're doing. We'd have the tight end right there, ready to push him. The running back is right behind him. You know that's what we're doing. You can tell by the snap count that we're about to QB sneak, and we still got it. But they're not taking that rule out, because I think that's just a little bit more of an old-fashioned way of playing ball. It's like, you can't do that. So I do think it does hurt, like, quarterbacks like Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Like they said, my boy out of Florida, Anthony Richardson, when he gets in the league. I mean, when he starts playing in the league this year. Who else would it be out there? Can't really think of a lot of other running quarterbacks that thrive off of that.
Maybe a Justin Fields is trying to make a big impact.
Justin Fields, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of these quarterbacks coming out of college right now is really going to fucking hurt, because that's all they pretty much really ran in college. So it's like, now you're taking away the one thing that made my bread and butter, that how I got my name. So
yeah, some of them. So some of them. I think a lot of the QBs that came out this year weren't like that, though. You think of the top 5 quarterbacks that came out: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud. Those were pocket passing quarterbacks. Who else came out? Will Levis, Hendon Hooker. If he does start in Detroit, he was a pocket passer. He had some really good running yards, but he he stood tall in the pocket and made a lot of passes throughout his college season. Then who else came out of college this year? If Stetson Bennett gets some time, but he was a pocket passer guy. If he gets some time this year, depending on the Matt Stafford, his future with the Rams. So I think a lot of the quarterbacks this year are going to be, it won't affect them as much, except for Anthony Richardson. I feel like he might one of the few quarterbacks that, because he shined out in this draft class because he was probably one of the best running quarterbacks out of the entire draft. Maybe not the best passing quarterback, but this is a very pocket passing heavy type of squad. And I wouldn't even say pocket passing. I would just say pass first, because a lot of them, like CJ Stroud, he's a scrambler. Bryce Young, he's a scrambler. He's not a huge runner. He can run. He ran his way to a Heisman, but he's more of a passer first. He's a pass first type of quarterback. And I think that's a lot of these quarterbacks that came out this year do have the great ability of scrambling, but they are pass first. So I think it really is going to affect a different generation of quarterbacks, the Jalen Hurts, the Lamars, the Josh Allens, the guys who kind of came in 2017, 2018, 2019, those guys a little bit more. But hopefully they'll be able to still adjust and, still be successful with that.
High key, because like I'm just trying to kind of like really process, especially when talking about quarterbacks when they run past options. So it's like basically, if I don't give off the ball, I better I can't I better be smart with how I keep this shit or how I give it off. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like it's like watching for a moving screen, but now it's like it kind of takes away the dimension of I won't say a lot of the mobile quarterbacks use it, but a lot of the quarterbacks that are more pocket presence, really more like the Patrick Mahomes or the ones that Trevor Lawrence that has the ability to get out the pocket, so they use like the running back as a decoy. Now it kills all that noise. You know what I'm saying? It really kills the aspect of the game offensively, where it's like where you're going to dive your attention to, especially as a defense. Now it's like, okay, if you get to the running back, I go not rest my laurels, but take it easy watching this tip, because more often than not, this quarterback's going to try and be overthinking the play in and of itself, and I could try and make a play on the ball. You know what I mean? Like, that's really how that shit's going to be looking like when it's coming down to this next season. It's going to make you interesting, and it's going to be frustrating the very first couple weeks of the year, too. Watch that.
Yeah, I'm worried to see how they're going to police it, what type of penalty it is. Like, is it just going to be? I don't know how they're going to do it. We'll see. They'll they'll explain more into depth as we go, because I haven't done a lot of research. I've just really, to be honest with you guys, I've just really watched that video on it. I haven't done much research on it. I just thought it was something cool to talk about, because who knows, maybe it fall through. I don't know if it's an official rule, but it's highly likely. I wouldn't see them not do it, because they talked about it earlier with the QB sneak thing anyway, when we were having so much success with it. They talked about that earlier in the towards the end of the season. They talked a little bit more about it, and were saying, you were starting to hear people like call for a rule change of some sort with the QB sneak. So I'm not surprised the RPO was something else. They were like, oh, well, let's just do that one instead. And so they do it all the time, though, when they come with new rules. Like, I remember when they started having when players, the PR, yep, thank you. You read my mind. It started really more in college football first, when it was like I remember the game. It was like a Florida State versus Notre Dame game, and the game got called because of a PI or something like Notre Dame's player. What was the dude's name? The brother who played quarterback for Notre Dame, Everett Golson. He had drove his team all the way down to the end of the field. He had a good touchdown, but they called it back because his tight end or one of his receivers on the outside was setting a pick. And that was the first time I saw it. My dad, he's coached football for over 2 decades, and he was like, you barely see that call. But ever since then, and that was like 10 years ago, maybe 2013, ever since then, it now gets called a lot more frequently. So all it takes is one controversial play for refs around the rest of the world. I mean, around the rest of the country to start calling it more. It was it was the PI thing. Then it was the it was something else.
Some shit like that with that PI call, what they was crying about when it was like when dude got was it the PI or a hold or something with the Saints. When there was
it was similar to that too. Yeah, a lot of those the PIs with the jump balls, kind of like those in the air, the push offs. The push off had a quick little bit of attention. People were like, "Oh, they're calling too many push offs," or "Oh, they're not calling controversial push off plays." And Then you had a lot of reviews. It was a lot of controversial reviews. So things like this happen all the time in the NFL, where there's going to be something that needs to get changed. Something, a few years ago it was the celebrations, the crazy amount of celebrations. Then they toned off on that, and now they're toning. Then this past year they toned heavily on the hitting the quarterback below the legs. So it's like this year is going to be something else. This year it might not be a rule. It's the rule change. This is the new rule. So they're calling that. So
that's what the rules is, to see how the public reacts to it. And by week 8, week 9, we're gonna go back to how we was regularly policing it, but we'll just keep a mindful eye on certain situations and put our hand down, put it down.
I think it'll probably be a small 5-yard penalty. I think that's what it'll be. It'll be a small 5-yard penalty. So.
But it's still gonna hold the offense though, because then now
most definitely.
Sure, like
now you go from 3rd and 1 because the RPO is a perfect play on 3rd and 1. Because if you miss it or if you have a bad read, you're good. You can run it back on 4th. But now it's a 3rd and 6. It's just it can kill a drive the same way a false start. You know how a false start can instantly kill your drive, especially on a 3rd down or a 2nd and long. It could really kill the entire drive. So we'll have to see. Oh, this is making me miss football, man.
Nah, man. For real. Hey, I'm gonna love seeing the Cowboys fans cry again. Sorry, Platt.
Oh man.
How about say all these straight bullets y'all sending out to the Cowboys is ridiculous.
I sent out one because I'm an Eagles fan. He has no reason to. I don't know why he did that. Don't do it.
It's just crazy how like a team that hasn't even touched the NFC Championship game could constantly be the favorite, and it's like
I'm not mad at it because they will have their turn, man. We are only in our mid-20s. I'm pretty sure if all of us live to what's the average death rate, like 75? If all of us live to even 70, we will see a Cowboy team win a Super Bowl. I don't think we will go the next 50 years without them winning a Super Bowl. So until then, remain confident. So I'm not mad at it.
Until Jerry Jones hands over keys or send GM into somebody else.
You saw me just do the math of 50 years. Do you think he's going to be – you think he got 50 years?
Hell no.
We just got to go back and do the math. I said 50. I ain't say 6. You know what I'm saying? I said within the next 50.
Resign that to $300 million and then bring back Ezekiel. And you know what? Go ahead and bring back Tony too. That's my boy too. I just want that to be my last payoff for y'all, but that's in my will. Put them on the team. I don't care. Well, make sure my boys is good.
Oh gosh, we're gonna have to see. But go ahead, Najee. Tell us we're gonna get into one more topic that relates to the NFL before we get up out of here. And tell us what you were telling us earlier that you said you wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah. So basically, I just wanted to talk about how I find it interesting how with the NBA, I feel like it's way more storylines in the NBA. Like with it, I don't know how to explain it, man. Last year, NFL had a lot of storylines, but it wasn't like enough to really follow that much. It's like, oh, Tom Brady, he's getting divorced. Okay, cool. So that was really the storyline for his whole entire season. Like his family is falling apart. That's not really a story you really want to hear about, but that's really all they had. And it's like it wasn't that many storylines. But in the NBA, it feels like we have a storyline like basically every week. John Morant, Zion Williams, what Kyrie doing, what's going on with LeBron, and it feels like it's a storyline with the NBA all the time. Even when it's in the offseason, like now, even when they just ended their season, we're still talking about the NBA and what's going on. When the NFL, it's kind of like they have the season. We're like, okay, cool. This team is playing good. Okay, like this is going on. Like it's not really much stories that's really going on. But I just always find it interesting that NBA constantly has storylines even when they're in the off season. And NFL really don't have that many storylines going on. And I just want to see what was y'all thoughts on that? Like, do y'all find that kind of interesting too? Like, what's your perspective of it?
It's the individualism of the sports. You know, when you look at the NBA, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you can't see the NFL. It has nothing to do with the helmets. It just has to do with you got 11 players on the field. Half of the guys you don't know. You don't know those 5 offensive linemen like that. So let's already knock that out. You don't know their names, whether they have helmets on or not. You don't know their names. So 9 times out of 10, out of the 50 guys on the squad, you're probably the ratio of who you know on the team is like a lot lower than on an NBA team. If you can name 3 players out of the starting 5, you know most of them, you know. But if you can only name the quarterback and one of the receivers on a team, you only know 2 out of the starting 11 on offense. And you also have defense. So that's another 22. So it's like you don't really the fact that the NFL is such a team sport compared to basketball being such an individual sport. You know, the basketball, you can do a 1v1, you could do a 2v2, you can do a 3v3. You can't do that with NFL. You can maybe go as low as 7-on-7, or you could do like a maybe some receiver versus quarterback, but that's still not as entertaining because you're now taking away the running back position. You're taking away entire aspect of football. So I think that's why there's not that many storylines in the NFL, because it's more of a team-based thing, as to where basketball, you can do a lot of individualism and it not affect as much compared to if you individualize on the NFL aspect, you're taking away from the entire team that puts in so much work. If you glorify the quarterback way too much, the offensive line is going to feel some type of way eventually. I can't speak for them, but I'm just going off of psychology possibly. That's just how they're going to feel. It's like, dang, you just forget about all them. As to with basketball, it's a little bit different. That's just my take on it.
I feel where you're coming from, Mel, but you can't really throw out the whole thing about the helmet tip, because the public not knowing really who you are under the helmet, not knowing, but seeing your face and knowing your likeness and saying, oh yeah, I know the name, I know the jersey. But when you see like, be like, oh, I know that was Travis Kelce brother on a damn Subway commercial.
No, it's because they zoom in. You can see the face through the helmet.
Jersey, but they ain't gonna know the face to the jersey. You know what I'm saying? Know the face to the person.
Yeah, they do, man.
Even with the storylines, talking about the NBA until like one storyline that got talked about, talking about the Dillon Brooks situation until, yeah, it was highlight, but football, there's a lot of players that do the same thing that Dillon Brooks does, right? But the only difference is we see Dillon Brooks on the court. We can actually see him running up and down, see his face, seeing him talking to do it, all that. You can still talk on the field, but in terms of actually saying like, oh, that's AB under the helmet. Oh, that's Tom Brady over there. Like a lot of people like only really know a lot of football players only by them being on the field, even though they may have other promotions until. But that's because their faces have become notable. But when the NBA is so easy for everyone to get a damn deal with anyone else, because they could see your face, they could see how you move, and they're watching you on Instagram. Like if you're an actual true fan, like if you're a fan of your team, yeah, you're gonna know more players that's on your team than other teams and stuff like that. But if you're actually a true sports fan, you're gonna actually, I'm gonna dive in and say, oh, that's so and so, that's Troy Polamalu, that's Big Ben over there, that's what's that man? Damn. I'm about to say Geno Hayes or some shit like that. You'll be like, oh no, I was a true fan of the dude. I know him. I seen dude. Then wasn't just about his play. Like, I could see him if I saw him out in public, I could point him out in the crowd and say, oh, that's old boy right there. With the NBA, it's more notable to do that because the followers, the hype, the media availability. Because even the college players and tip, like, you know what I'm saying? Like even Monty Bates, like if he was a player in the comparable for him in the NFL would be like drafted in the second, third round type tip. Coming in, like, you know what I'm saying? Even though he ain't fall down like that, it's just the fact that, like, because we don't get to see you, it makes it to where a lot of people, if you're not really in the know, you really won't know. You know what I'm saying? That's why everybody.
Okay. I don't think it's to me.
I can be. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
To me, I get what you're trying to say about the helmet thing, but where I see it is more basketball. You can show in basketball. You can show your personality more than you can on football. Like like we talked about it earlier about the celebrations, right? They tone down the celebrations and everything. It's kind of like with football. Last person I can really think off the top of my head right now, talking about personalities, like OBJ, right? OBJ, he was the dude with the one hand catch. He got the blonde mohawk, and my man, he was a fly dude. That was that was the personality. Like he's OBJ. Like we all get that. He's cool like that. And I'm like, man, this dude's cool. I don't care. Like that's what makes me. I don't even know his number. I really don't remember OBJ's number, to be honest with you. I don't even remember.
13.
I think it's like 13. I want to say, if I'm right or wrong. But
13.
But it's like it's the personality show. The celebrations and all the stuff like that, like little stuff like that, it went a long way because you connect with them more. But when all they do is get a touchdown and they go to the sideline, it's like, bro, how can I like?
Okay. Let me give the pushback on the helmet thing. I was saying the helmet thing because I just don't think because I could understand that argument back then when they didn't do a lot, when they only had a few cameras on the field. But now if you're a good enough, if you had a great play on one drive as an offensive player, while your team's on defense, they're going to show you on the sideline and they're going to mention your name. You'll see his number. So you have an opportunity to see their face. It might not be exactly when the play happens, but you will have an opportunity to see their face multiple times throughout the game. They'll bring you up. They'll do pregame interviews. They'll do postgame interviews. They'll do all these different in-between interviews during the game and stuff like that, talking to them. And then they also zoom in to the point where you can see in between the face mask. So it's like, I think nowadays the helmet, it's not a big deal. But I also do think there's two other points I have to make. One, in the NBA, 24 seconds on a shot clock. LeBron James can hold the ball for the entire 24 seconds and make the entire 24 seconds about him. We go back to OBJ. OBJ can't do the things he does until somebody else gives him the ball. It's different. Where basketball, all you need somebody to do is bring in the ball real quick. Tap the ball in while I bring the ball up the court. You tap it in from the other end of the court, and then I'll bring it up. And now nobody else can touch the ball for 24 seconds if I want to do that. In football, there's no point in the game where you could say, I'm going to hold the ball the entire possession real quick. You just can't do that. So it's an individual sport. It's a sport where you can have some sense of individualism for a short amount of time, and you can thrive off of that as a media personality or as a marketer of the brand. So the NFL can't market individualism within the sport because there's no way of implementing that individualism within the game of football itself. You can do that in the NFL if a dude says, I'm going to score 60 today. That means he's going to hold the ball a lot of the game. In the NFL, you could say, okay, CeCe Jefferson went for 250 yards, but at the end of the day, there's probably somebody else had to, catch some other balls, and it's still either way, it still has to go through the quarterback. There's still other plays. It's like 250 yards a game. He still probably didn't even get the ball the entire time. Let's just say he got 250 yards off of 11 catches. If only 11 catches got to him, that means there's most likely the average plays ran. There's I think it's like 70 or something. He doesn't even account for half of the plays ran. At the end of the day, he only had 11 catches, maybe 15 targets. He only had like a 10%, 10 or 15% of the entire plays ran went through him. So it's like there's no way for you to be outside of the quarterback. There's no way for you to be the sole involvement of the entire game. Maybe you could say Derrick Henry when he was getting 40 touches a game. Maybe you could say that. But even then, you still had A.J. Brown, who was on the come up at the time, still getting his 100-something yards. So it's really hard to really do that compared to in the NBA. A dude could go for 60 and nobody cares about the rest of the players on the team. I mean, nobody looks at who else was on the team that night. So I think that's the other thing. And that just tied into my third point of each league is going to take a different aspect as to how they want to market their brand. The NFL will never market an individualistic mindset at the end of the day. He's going to have somebody else that's on that team. At the end of the day, Tom Brady, as much as you want to individualize him, we will never forget. We will never remember him without Gronk. We will never remember him about the other players that were around him. So same for Patrick Mahomes.
But that's the thing, though. No. Even though they don't do individuality, right? I know Gronk. Not because, okay, I get yes because I'm a Patriots fan, but Gronk, he's a crazy dude, bro. Everyone knows Gronk. Everyone knows Tom Brady. Everyone knows these guys, but it's like, man, we don't talk about them that much because it feels like, man, it seems like, I don't know. It always seems like ain't nothing really going on in the NFL. It just always seems that way, I guess, from my point of view. Where it's like, man, what's going on in the NFL? Nothing. Just getting ready for football. Okay. That's it. Just plain Jane football. Just only getting ready for football. But it's like basketball. It seems like it's like, man, we got this going on. We got this going on. It's that. It's like a lot going on. It's like, bro.
Yeah, the NFL just doesn't want that type of
and it's always seems like
they don't want that type of attention.
There's always seemed like big names are being moved around or something like that. Where it's like NFL is kind of like DeAndre Hopkins is a big name, but it's like he's only a big name to those who watch football.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It is also different because in an NBA, the sport of basketball is such a plug and play sport. You can move a guy and he impact the team for the rest. But NFL, you can't move your star because most of the stars are going to be teams that the offense is built on. So it's harder to do that in an NFL sense because you have to learn plays. I get basketball has plays, but the NFL plays are much more complicated because you have double the amount of players on the court. I mean, on the field. So now you have double the amount of jobs and double the amount. And as a quarterback, you have to know everyone's job. So to switch a franchise quarterback in the middle of the season, you can't do that unless you are willing to just say, okay, the rest of the season might be a struggle and we'll just work on implementing him into the offense throughout the offseason. Or unless we already had the offense, like unless he's going to a team where this was his previous offensive coordinator or something like that. But it's kind of hard to do that, man. Yeah. It's just like I said, I don't think the NFL promotes that type of storylines where we want to have all this compared to the NBA where they embrace that. They embrace the media. I feel like the NBA media is a little bit, I wouldn't say harsher, but they're a little bit toned into a lot of outside stuff more than the NFL will be. The NFL is a little bit more hush. Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, because I was saying,
if there was a Ja Morant, when there's Ja Morant situations in the NFL, you don't hear about them unless you are a fan of that team or and maybe also because it's not, maybe we haven't seen a bigger star do it.
Yeah.
But like there'd be cases where it happens and it's like,
but it always feels like with the NFL, they have one story and that's the one story for the rest of the season.
Depending on the
Michael Vick, the Michael Vick dog fighting thing, right? That was literally the story for that whole.
But Ja was pretty much the only real story this year. Let's be honest, because the Kyrie. Okay, I would say the last half of the season.
It's in quarters.
Kyrie was early.
In NBA, it's not like quarters.
It's in quarters.
So it's like first starting of the season was like Kyrie and the KD situation. Then it went into the Ja Morant situation. The first part one of the Ja Morant situation, and then part 3 was really like quarter 3 of the season was like LeBron James and the Lakers. Like they're literally triumphing through all of this. And really it started off with the Draymond Green situation. That's how the whole season started off, with Draymond punching Jordan Poole. And it was like multiple stories throughout the whole season. NFL was like, last season was like Tom Brady family falling apart. And that was really his whole story the whole entire season. It was like, how can he focus with his family falling apart?
And also the Lamar contract was a huge conversation. That wasn't then. That was from week 1. That was a conversation because remember it started with everyone with Lamar saying, "I will not negotiate a deal in the middle of the season." So everybody was like, "The season is about to start. Is the good deal going to get done?" Season doesn't start, and now everybody keeps talking. Oh, will they do it? Will he do a deal? Will he not? Is he going to play?
Got put on ice though until the end of the season. Because it was like, okay, now...
Yeah, because he got hurt. It got put on ice because then he got hurt, and it just became he's probably not going to play the rest of the season. He's not going to come back. And then the storyline really just kind of became the game itself, honestly. Yeah. It became a little bit of Aaron Rodgers as he tried to make a little bit of a playoff push, but it mostly in the same a little bit of Brady, but it mostly just became the game itself. They just started honing in on the game and who's going to be in the Super Bowl this year. Because it's also a different type of attention because the NFL season is a much shorter and much week-to-week basis. We don't really have a lot of time to discuss like other things compared to the NBA where it's like we know not a lot of people are going to be watching in the middle of February in the middle of January until the All-Star break. So it's like we got to talk about something because who's watching a regular season game on a random Tuesday night compared to the NFL where it's like we got a game every single weekend. People are lit, off work, popping, holidays on the weekend sometimes. People have time off on the weekends. We don't need a storyline because we know people are going to bring their eyes because the NFL, we only have a certain amount of time. We have a short time frame and it's going to be on at this specific time. You could be a fan of the LA Lakers and be like, damn, the Lakers play tonight? Shit, I forgot. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Unless it's a primetime game, you might forget the Lakers play tonight. So it's like they got to keep stories going to keep your attention so you keep remembering to tune into the Lakers. So they're going to keep bringing up stories of the Lakers, so.
But yeah, that was just a topic that I wanted to discuss because, I mean, everyone knows it's like a little budding rivalry there between NBA and NFL usually. Where it's like, you got those people that be like, what's more important? What's more fun? What's what's America's sport and all this stuff. It's like I just want to talk about, like, just to get that conversation going. Just another topic to throw out there.
Yeah, it was a great topic. I love talking the differences between the NBA and the NFL. Like earlier in the other clip of the episode, we talked about the difference of the international NBA and the international soccer relationships and how they kind of have similarities and how they have differences. So I love like comparing the different sports leagues and the aspects of it throughout our world. So